All right, there we go. We live. What you about to say, E?
I was saying I don't think the system needs to be revamped. I think the system needs to be right. We need to start executing the system as intended.
Right,
Right. The
right,
problem, the system is not the problem. Right. It's that we're not really operating according to that system in the first place. It's
Yeah.
like it's
right,
like in the military, right? Like in the military, you got all these problems, and you start to look up the regs, and you're like, wait a minute, right? They're not supposed to be allowed to do this to me, right? I'm
right,
supposed to be allowed to have all these different benefits. And so for the system, I think we just need to actually execute the system. Like capitalism isn't capitalism. You know what
right,
I'm saying? Like we're not executing capitalism the way it's intended to be. When you start doing all these bailouts, right, or have you create this thing called too big to fail, right? To where now it doesn't even matter if these guys are running good business, right? But somehow they're able to still get the money and be the ones that get the funding to keep driving us into the ground, right?
right.
Like, same with the government, like operate as intended, right? Execute these laws as intended, and we're gonna be all right. Like, right? If anything, I think we need to cut a lot of stuff out, right? Like, like they should spend 10 years going through like laws and just repeal it, like almost bringing us back to the beginning, right? Minus the slavery, right? Right? Like go back to this Bill of Rights, this whole Declaration of Independence, where it said all men are created equal, and actually, right,
Right.
execute the fact that all men actually are created equal, right? And a system like that, I think that works. Because I agree with Stu, like there aren't many systems. Like this is still a system to where if you learn it well enough and you work it hard enough, then right, ultimately you can still get to where you need to be, even with all the craziness, right? Even as a black man with all the things stacked against you, right? If you learn the game well enough, you can still overcome that, even in the state that we're in. You know what I mean? But you execute as intended, then it even takes it to another level. We just sheep. They don't care. Stop spending money on shit you don't need, and you'll see how they'll change up.
Well, I mean, I don't. The system might not care. Like in business, you're not supposed to care. Like a company works for its shareholders, not its consumer.
I
So,
think that's backwards, though.
Yeah. I mean, but
but that's how business
I think
works.
that's to go back to
That's not
go
the essence of capitalism, though.
right. If we go all the way back, like you were saying, even prior to the Declaration of Independence, even we go back to the spirit of what brought those people from England to America. You know what I'm saying? That spirit. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we don't like this shit no more. You know what I'm saying? We gonna go and do our own thing, whatever. So that was the whatever. They get over here, and then the whole, instead of and I feel like, you know, for the majority, I mean, I don't know. It seems like the colonizers and white people, as the way the history books are written, are like the only people who, we all might venture out in the world. You know what I'm saying? So if Africans go somewhere, they'll open up trade and sharing with another culture, but they don't really try to take over or exterminate that people. We just want to do business, and we got some shit y'all like, y'all got some shit we like, and let's go from there. You know. But then when it comes to white people, it seems like it's like, okay, we here, y'all got some shit we like, we're gonna take that shit, claim it for the queen, claim it for this, claim it for that, our name is on it, rewrite history, and then go on from there. You know what I'm saying? But from the spirit of, they left England coming here to try to start something new. They could have worked a lot better with the Native Americans, which they fucked that up. So that was the beginning of the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? And then when they undid that, then starts the slave trade, and then comes that and rewriting and then when the Declaration of Independence does come out, in their mind, like, you know what I'm saying, like if you in a room, just anywhere, like in a room full of white men with the money, with the whatever, they're gonna write the rules that work for them.
Mhm.
All men. Okay, well, ain't nobody in here to say hey, what about us? Ain't no black people in here to be like, hey, what about us? Ain't no Indians, ain't no Native Americans, no Mexicans in here to be like, hey, what about us? Does that make you, are you including us? So in their minds, we the men, we're men. They didn't even see black people, you know, they turned it into where they didn't even consider black people to be men. They, what, like 3/5 of whatever that number is, what they call it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't even consider us men. So, you know, even though it's in, yeah, like you go back, you go to that and like, look, we are, you know, it's established that we are people. So we are all created equal. We all have the same chances. Start from there. And then the educate the years and years and years of miseducation, you know, and a lot of our frustrations with black people right now, and the way that we do spend money on pointless, useless shit, and the way we do allow ourselves to get hoodwinked and bamboozled continuously over and over and over again is because of that lack of education. You know what I'm saying? Just because you free the slaves, you're a slave today and you free tomorrow, you still not educated. I still got the advantage because I know how I can hustle you over and over and over again, because that's just the way now that you programmed to believe. I got the power, I got the money, even though you did all of this. So catch me if you can. And we've been trying to, you know, every time it seems like every time we try to catch up or try to get together and organize, either they do something, they change the system and then show us that y'all still ain't shit, or just the self-perpetuation of the black folks who don't really get it or who don't feel like they stand a chance. The crab in the barrel mentality will hold us back, you know. You over here holding on to the, like trying to pull us up, and you got a whole, like everybody trying to pull you back down. You're like, no, come on up, come on up. I'm trying to educate you. I'm trying to bring us to a new place. Nope. And then you're like it's like, and then all it takes is one person, say Biden, for instance, you know, just to throw a couple crumbs. Oh, black, you know what I'm saying? Just to say black a couple times, say something black, positive toward the black people. And then, you know, just like the pastor at church or just like whoever, everybody's singing their praise. Yay, 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 yay. And then, but no real substance to it. Like, where's the evidence? Where's the substance?
This is going to seem kind of negative, but I don't think we're, I think us as a whole, we're never going to get there, because to get to the path to like making it sucks and it's hard, and people don't want to do that. People do not want to take the path. That's why there's so many hustling people that's trying to hustle you. That's where there's so many people that, let me go to church and pray to God so I can get some money, or I can get this. Like the pastor's selling you, like you give tithes to get something back. You don't give tithes out of faith. You give tithes to get something back. It has to be an exchange. Like, I got to get something back. And it's a promise. Hey, you give me this, I'm gonna give it, oh, God's gonna give it back to you. People don't want to work, but that, and not saying everybody's gonna make it. And then you got to look at what is making it. Like, you got to think about what is making it. Do we want to do what social media shows us and be millionaires, or do we want to just be happy and be comfortable?
Right.
And like have an acre of land and a house and a garden or whatever. We got to look at what's making it. But the path sucks. The path is hard. And most people don't want to take that path.
That's why is it so hard for, like, is it equally hard for everybody?
I don't think it's equally hard for everybody. Like, there's some people that was born into old money, and there's some people that are assisted because they have a network to get them up the ladder. Mm-hmm. We have tons of immigrants that come here and they just grind and work, and then they take that grind and work and they spread it down to their children.
Right.
Their children grind and work. Sometimes I look at us and I see like first generation Americans. I look at their family and I look at their parents, and their parents came here and built something. They built a business. Right. They built something for the next generation. And we're sitting around here saying, when are you guys going to pay us for what our great grandfather did? That ain't coming. reparations ain't coming.
No, they're not.
They not gonna.
Yeah,
They ain't gonna. We ain't gonna come out the door and they give us hugs and give us a check and say, "Hey, this is for what somebody else went through."
Yeah.
it's funny you say that, Stu. You hit it on the nail. It's funny, right? So I came home, started my own business, and my niece is working with me. And I literally just had this conversation with her. That I told her that I said at some point in time you have to realize you can't outsmart the work, right? You can't outsmart the hard work. You gotta get it done, right? And even right, the person, that group that was born in the old money, the person has the network, right? They have a leg up, but they gotta work too, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, right? You gotta put in the work, and you're right. The social media, it bothers me the way I see that social media has taken, right? It's important, but the way we've used it, right? The way we glorify certain things, right? So perfect example is like in this business, right? One of my pillars is empowering small businesses, right? Primarily black owned, right? But businesses in general. And one of the things I notice is that we're so focused on social media that folks don't even take the time to build the foundation, right? That you're trying to portray on social media in the first place, right? Like my niece came in, she works with me every day, and I tell her, I'm like, look, I know we need social media, but right now building that foundation is the most important thing. I don't want to portray something on social media that I haven't, established a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Your mic went out, E.
And then on top of that, right, those who have made it, right, are gatekeepers, right? I have somewhat of our issue with our gatekeepers, right? The ones who have made it past the threshold, right? Number one is what you're showing on social media, right? Our gatekeepers who have made it, right? Are they showing us, right? Are they showing us buying black? Are they showing us investing in other black businesses? Are they showing us Lamborghinis? Are they showing us Fendi? Are they showing us all these different, right, things, that gaudiness, right, that extravagant thing that adds no value to us, to where now our people are like, oh, that's where I need to get to, right? And then number two, the gatekeepers, in order to drop the knowledge, they're like, oh, you got to give me that buck, right? In this journey that I've been on in this business, right, so far, white people have been more adamant and more apt to help me than black people, right? The black people are like, oh, what's in it for me, right? Even the white people that are trying to get something out of me, they first show me what they're worth before we talk about the money, right?
Right.
The average black person is going to talk to me about the money first before they show me what they're worth, and then you got to deal with the fact that, oh, they might not even be worth what they trying to get out of you.
Right.
Like we gotta be willing to work together. We gotta be willing to collaborate, and like we gotta put in the work. Like people scared, they want to make the money right away, right? And
Right.
and if you're trying to be a business person, if you're trying to change this thing on a global scale, or even just a local scale, it's a long game, right? You can't be afraid to lose. You can't be afraid to fail, right? You can't be able to drop a few dollars, lose some sleep in the beginning, right? And somewhere down the line, that shit's gonna pay off. But until you're ready to put in the work, I mean, it's kind
But
of
see, that's
like our careers, right? Kind of like our careers, right? You come in, you see the tech and the mass saw, he chilling, right? But you gotta put in the work to get there.
yeah. But okay, so I agree with that. Like, first of all, the immigration thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel I just feel black Americans are the way that we are. We lack that drive, we lack that thing, because many immigrants come from a country to where they were around their people a lot more and saw their people in politics, and like even if Haiti is corrupt, it's still black people all around. Even if Africa, it's still black people in power, this and this. Even when you come from India or Afghanistan, no matter where you come from, like all those, like when we go to those countries, when you look around, everybody looks the fucking same, right? You know, so that in itself, I feel like gives you like being here in America and having to deal with the, you know, the aftermath of racism and whatever that's put in America. Like Black Americans are like the stepchild of America or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like we in the same house, but we don't get the same treatment. And that's what we, you know, we've been wanting the same treatment, and it's claimed like we supposed to have the same rights. It's not supposed to be. We don't feel like it's supposed to be as hard. We don't feel like we're supposed to try as hard because, like you said, you got to get out there and grind. It's work. But there are the truth of the matter is we did the heavy lifting for the first part of this country, and we did the work for them to be advanced and them to, like, they could just chill back and talk business and talk to each other and write the rules for buying land and how to sell this and create insurance companies and create banks and create this and create that. We couldn't create shit. We just had to work. And if you didn't work, then you died or you got beat. So like once that's going away, you know what I'm saying? And now it's kind of like, okay, we're slowly trying to come back into the business mind. There are some like the gatekeepers, like who we see as the Black gatekeepers often are not even the real gatekeepers, because a gatekeeper is still somebody white behind the scenes who is, who putting these little things out here. But unfortunately, we fall for it. Unfortunately, we get led by that quick dollar by, okay, well, if everybody look like me that really made it play ball, or everybody really look like me that really made it is a rapper, or everybody look like me that really made it did this, that, even though there are successful Black doctors, lawyers, and whoever. It's kind of like, unfortunately, then people want that quick. They want to do it quick. You don't want to spend 8 years in college, and nobody went to college, and I can't get a loan or a grant and go into debt and blah 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 and all this bullshit. That the whole fucking, it's just like fucking one thing after another, and then like people like you, E, who getting in there and trying to educate yourself and educate others on just keep your nose to the grind, man. You know what I'm saying? It don't have to come fast. You just gotta get it. Even like I say, well, I'm telling my cousins, like I want to change the dynamic for my family. Even if I don't make it to the promised land, even if I'm not alive when it happens, I need to say things right now, do things right now that the next generation and whoever can carry on and carry on and carry on. So eventually, you know what I'm saying? I would like to see it happen quickly. Of course, I want to see it happen quickly. Of course, I want to be part of it too. Of course, I want to reap the benefits of it too. You know what I'm saying? But we have to have that patience and that understanding of each other. And then, like I said, and then actually coming together like this and not letting, our differences. No matter, regardless of who you voted for, who I voted for, what this is, what that is, at the end of the day, we Black men. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I'm for you. Regardless of all that bullshit aside, I'm for you, and I'm for you. I support you. I support you. Yeah, I want to see you make it. I don't want to have to be like, oh, what's in it for me, or what's in it, whatever, or like go behind your back and hate on your business and not share and not network and not give you this. Not give you the help that, when you are able to help somebody, but that's along with the fact of you are on the grind and you are doing your thing. You know what I'm saying? There are some I had to fire a dude from my job the other day because he was falling asleep right there under the cameras, and he was talking about how he wants to start this business, and his dad had all these connections and stuff that like all he had to do was connect him and hook him up. And I told him, like, look, man, ain't nobody in this world gonna help you, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know, you can be 1 or 2 connections away from everything that you need. Especially, they're not gonna help you if you're not helping yourself. So you gotta look within yourself and see what you're not doing to not want that. Because when you are doing your due diligence, people are more willing to help you, or because it doesn't feel like I'm helping you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not helping you in a way of I'm doing all the work. I'm just hey, sharing with you because I know you're going to take this and you're going to run with it.
So I I agree with most of that. So, but I don't like when we make excuses about our heritage and where we are, right?
Right.
And so, and what I recently, I'm not a history buff, but I recently kind of, been falling more in love with our heritage and kind of looking into stuff. It's a complete fallacy to say that our people weren't able to create things, right? Uh,
Right. Not that they
from the
weren't able
very
to, they weren't allowed
from
to.
the
I'm saying
from
here
the
they weren't
very
allowed.
not even allowed to, because from the very beginning, like we have had black representation in Congress, right? Like as like it pretty early on, uh, you know, after slavery. Like it wasn't like there was right. This was a norm, and what's crazy is like we like places like Tulsa, right? We know about the Black Wall Street, but that was like there were pockets of that all over, right? We
all around.
we kind of didn't have a choice because of segregation, right? So we had to, right? So that stuff was there, right? But we've allowed the environment, right, and those powers to be to one erase that history from our knowledge, right? And two, right, even if that didn't exist at this point in technology and in the age of like this is the information age, right? You have access to right what almost any information that you want at the tip of your fingers, right? We can't keep saying that we can't do such like learn it, right? Figure this thing out. Come together and figure this thing out. Right. Even with the gatekeeper conversation, I don't care that there's somebody else that signs your checks or gets you there, right? But as the gatekeeper and you get your foot in the door, right? We become so much more concerned with maintaining our status, right? In that situation instead of figuring out how to bring everybody else on and figure out how to take that thing down and create it, right? And yeah, we created it. They burned it down and used the laws of the day to take it, right? So we need to become smarter and keep working and figuring out how to work through it, right? How to work around it, right? Eventually, right? Today, this year, right? This season has taught us, right, that there's like this is the time, right? If there was ever a time to start creating, right, and bring like you can pull the black card today, right? And that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? There are many circles even outside the black community where you can be like, hey, I'm a black business owner, or I'm a black this, and right, we can create that. So it's time to stop using everything, right? Like not ignore it, right? That like we use it to build off, right? To as a foundation, as a motivation, right? And I agree, Stu. Like the reparation conversations don't even make sense today, right? Like how you gonna track that? Right? How you gonna track it? Like my family's Haitian, right? You know what I'm saying? Because if you're giving out reparations, I want a piece. But still, like how you track, right? The people that came in, right? So who are first and second generation Americans, but they're still Black Americans, right? How do you track that? Like it's impossible, right? Like we should be focused. If any type of reparations are being done, I want to see the type of reparations that actually implement systems to rebuild our schools, right? Our communities, right? Things that actually, right? We actually need and help and support us. But like
Right.
just fucking get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the person said we built it and they burned it down. That's why they burned it down. So we can always see that picture and say, oh, we can't do it because if we do it, they'll do that.
Right.
Even though it was years and years and years ago. Like you can I started a business in this past year I started a business for $1,200. LLC, everything. Like we could do all these things. I think us as a culture or us as a group. The bad thing about I think us getting to one place is our generation might have to suck it up for the next generation
Mhm.
because you got to think about it. Like we had individuals in the 30s and 40s buying land, like owning land, and then now we don't have it. Now as like we have families that had their great grandfathers had land and then they lost it. They fought about it. They sold it off or whatever. So, I just don't. I think we have to with their struggle and not their goals. No accountability. I mean, I think I unfortunately don't think we're going to get there. I think a couple of us are going to get there. I don't think the rest of us is going to get there. We're too comfortable. We're too comfortable. You got to think about it, man. Like a month and a half ago, everybody was cheering. Everybody was cheering because the devil was gone. Like all our problems are going to go away. And then 30 days later, nothing. You know what I haven't heard about? Police brutality. That narrative is gone now. Like we're not getting beat up by police anymore. That narrative's gone. There's no more marches anymore. All that stuff is gone until a couple years from now. They'll be like, "Oh, we're here for you. We're here to support you."
Mm-hmm.
We have to look at it. We have to say, "Okay, it is our own responsibility. It is my own job to get myself out of my circumstance." And even though America is a system, it seems like a system that, we should replace it. This system has all the avenues for you to become successful. This is the best place to be on earth. And I know y'all understand. Like I remember I used to deploy all the time, and deploying was good because it made me miss America. It made me miss what I mean, some places you get a good deployment, you don't want to come back. But you go to like a bad place, you're like, man, I miss this place. And then you come back and there's all these things. It seems like we harp on the bad. We harp on all the negative. We harp on, like if I sat back and harp, my dad didn't pick me up, to go play basketball when I was 7. If I still harped on that and didn't just get past it and say, okay, I need to make sure my son doesn't say that thing, and work and make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to. And then also, like with the school, like you had said something about the school. The one good thing about the virtual school this past year, I've sent my kid to virtual school. One thing the virtual school taught me is I wasn't doing my job as a parent. I was leaving it up to the schools.
Yeah.
So now that I have to do the work with him, I'm like, he's not where I thought he was, but I'm not doing what I was supposed to do all these years, the last 7 years. So it kind of humbled me and made me say, okay, I need to put work in. So I can't leave it up to a teacher. I can't leave it up to somebody else that has no value on my child. It's just a job to them. And I need to understand that. And I think we all need to understand that rather than blaming the teacher. What are we doing when our kids get home? What homework are we going over with them? How are we checking their reading and checking their math? That's something that we've kind of left up, and then we'll complain to the teacher, or we'll complain whatever situation that we have issues with. For the most part, yes, it's racism. Yes, we'll get followed in the store and stuff like that. But I think we have to do it ourselves. We have to stop relying on somebody else and stop saying, why don't they do this? Or it's not their job. And they don't care. And to be honest with you, I don't care about their kids. So it's like, if I don't care about their kids, why should I want them to care about my kids? It's like that kind of thing.
Right.
It's deep that you say that, right? So like, it's real deep that you say that, because like, you kind of alluded to a piece of this earlier when you talk about defining what making it is, right? Because we've created a society, or we've allowed this society to perpetuate in a system, in a cycle, to where most of us don't have time, right? We've created a system in which it makes sense, right, to spend more time at work than spending time raising your kids, right? And half the time you ask the average person, they don't even know what they're chasing, right? Mm-hmm. They're not even sure what they're chasing, right? And then, right, to your point of whether or not we're going to make it, I mean, I don't know. I hope we do, but it's going to take, like you said, right, willingness to sacrifice. This generation may need to be the ones to sacrifice, right? We need people to come together that's going to help each other and support each other. Because one of the things, another thing I talked to my niece about today is like what it takes to make it. We're so talented, right? We have the potential to make it, but trying to make it and tap into these talents while trying to survive in this system to provide for your family and provide for yourself. Those two worlds and those two priorities, they clash, right? So supporting each other, right? Finding a way to support each other may not even necessarily be going into business together, right? We might need to come together to a point where like, all right, we got these talented folks, right? We might need to come together and find a way to support these folks so they got the time, right, to tap into these talents. You know what I'm saying? Like how do we have to figure out a way to get out of this rabbit hole, right? This hamster wheel of this system, right? And then the social media is just perpetuating it, like we said, right? Because we want to reach a certain status, right? And the average, all we know is just to work, right? And we're going to all these different jobs. We're not raising our families. We're having all these, you know, the slippery slope of different impact that keeps us, it digs us further down the hole.
Right. I mean, and that when I go and when I talk about the history or the foundation of what made things the way they are, you know what I'm saying? To me, it's not about. I'm not making excuses for it, but I'm just, you know, it's kind of like, you know, to break it down and then build it back up, just to, you know, like to get a understanding, you know what I'm saying? Because there's no denying that things are this way for a reason, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's not relying on that reason. It's not making an excuse. I'm like, oh, I can't change because of slavery or because this or that or blah, because of white people, the white man keep me down. I'm not for that at all. You know what I'm saying? But okay, it's just okay. We do understand that, you know, because I've been reading The Color of Law and how housing and certain things, you know, redlining and certain things were just pointed down a direction. You know what I'm saying? And then there's no denying that the effect of that those generations who were denied certain things and the kids that grew up seeing mom and daddy struggle and argue and fight because they couldn't do this and they couldn't do that. And so then they grew up not to be kind of apprehensive about going to buy a house because that's why mom and daddy got a divorce. Or, you know what I'm saying? Just the bullshit, the psychological bullshit behind all of that. You know what I'm saying? To where now, you know, it's even sometimes like even when, and it was organized, the FHA, the FBI, the organizations were set against us. There's no denying that. You know what I'm saying? Even after all of that, even up until now, there's certain organizations and certain rules and shit that we weren't educated on, you know? And so we got fucked over. They burned it down. They took it away. They kicked us out. So in that sense, and understanding that, and that's where it comes full circle, because yes, and then they have that image to show us, and then most of the people be like, "Oh, we can't do that again because if we do this, they're gonna do that." No, educate yourself. Knowledge is power. That's one of the things that we keep repeating to each other, and everybody always say it all the time. But do you really understand the meaning of it? Knowledge. The knowledge is your power. You gain that knowledge, and knowledge is everywhere. Like you said, the social media and all this and all that. You know what I'm saying? It's right here at your thumb, at your fingertips right now. So we can get into that social media, educate ourselves, and not be afraid to, you know, because just like in the rigs, I mean, when we were in the military, even as an airman, you know what I'm saying? Like you read the rig, and then like if there's some kind of gray area or something that you know they really can't get you on, but somebody in their mind think they can get you on it, like no, where is that in the regs? Is that in the regs? No. And then okay, now either they got to rewrite the reg or let you go. They can't really write you up or whatever. You might be mad about it, but what can you really do about it? So that's when we educate ourselves on what these laws are, you know, how to really, you know, network, talk to each other, build a business, and instead of being in competition with each other. Like really, you know, that's a mentality that when it comes to doing business or being successful, that we have to eliminate. We're not in competition with each other. You know what I'm saying? I want to see you make it just like I want to make it. If you get there before me, then that's fine. You know, you don't get there and gloat. You know, if like I said, if I'm about my grind, if I'm not just waiting for somebody to fucking grab on their coattails and drag me along with them, you got to be about your hustle every day, just like anything. That's what I tell, like anything that you want to do. I tell my little cousin, he sit around the house, he smoke weed, he do this, he do that. You know what I'm saying? He go, oh, I can't find no job. I can't. Like, nigga, when you want to find a job, you will find a job because you smoke weed every day, don't you? You find a way to find weed, don't you? Okay, so go find a job. Go do the things that what you really put your mind to do, you can do as a black man. You know what I'm saying? That is in you. You know what I'm saying? We have always been creative. We have always been about it and going in that way. You know what I'm saying? That's when I was mentioning, like, we weren't allowed to reap. Well, we weren't allowed to reap the benefits of our creativity. We weren't, you know, because we did it. They put a patent on it and claimed it. But that came from us, no doubt. Who out here working? Who needs to do any of this? Us. We need that. You don't need it, you know. But then that's how we got robbed of that, you know, that ownership of those inventions and that type of thing, and stripped of being able to talk to each other and communicate with each other. So that whole mind game, that whole thing, that I feel like it still keeps us divided. Because even being here in Atlanta, I moved here to Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? And it's, you know, one of the blackest cities in the nation, probably, you know. And it has, like, the potential that I see. I'm like, you know, the potential, like, you know, Stu, you saying, like, the potential that I see for our people here. And yeah, there's a small percentage of that happening, you know, but the rest of it, you know, shooting up clubs and what? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this to each other? Why are we complaining about police brutality? Why are we complaining about how other people treat us and blah, 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 when we don't treat ourselves like we should, you know?
I don't think that, like, you know, talking about our history and what actually happened, right, is bad, right? But like Stu said, it's the mentality of it, right? It's the mentality of the conversation. It's like, we can't do this because of that, right? We know everything that was pressed against us, right? But at some point in time, we just got to figure out how to right. You move the finish line, right? I get close to the finish line, you move it, right? Do I sit here and curl up and cry about it, or do I say, fuck it, I'm gonna figure out, right, I'm gonna keep pushing to get to that finish line, right? Right. We gotta figure it out, right? We gotta figure out how to get through the finish line, right? And there's a way to do it, right? And ultimately, the great equalizer of getting it done is coming together. Right, and that's the biggest problem, is that we can't come together. Right, we are our own worst enemies. Right, even in the fact that, like if you do something, right, that I don't like, right, our culture has it to where we're gonna go on social media, we're gonna blast your business, right? When 9 times out of 10 it was probably my fault anyway, right?
Right.
I was just being a jerk, right, in the first place. But when you go to McDonald's and you go to one of these other places that give you garbage service, you're not out there blasting them, right? Or if we just have a disagreement, right? We just have a difference of opinion on how we're gonna work towards this finish line. We can still support each other, right? Going, you know what I mean, in our going about our ways to get to this finish line, and our own, we can still support each other in doing that, but we don't do that. Right, we don't do that. We don't work towards that. And as far as your comment about shooting up, right, in the our neighborhoods, right, I've been blessed to not have to. Right, my parents grew up, raised us in a nice neighborhood, at least before it turned to shit out here. You know, it's shit now. But I think it goes back to our conversation of what, right, this has become a way of life. right? In order to stop people from operating in this way of life, we got to give them something different, right? We got to give them something different. And how are we doing that? Like, how are
Right.
we doing that? You know what I mean? Like marijuana, right? I wish I had enough money, right? And I'm glad they're starting to legalize marijuana in these different states. New Jersey just hooked it up, right? We're gonna have an infused event on 420 at my spot, right? But you have used, right? This country has used marijuana as the basis to tear down our neighborhoods,
Yeah.
right? To turn people, right? Turn people who are just trying to provide for their families and create a way of life, right, into felons, right? Who can't get regular jobs, right? Who can't take care of their families. And now you legalize it, right?
Right.
What are you doing to restore these neighborhoods that you use marijuana to destroy?
Right.
Like, what are you doing? And what are we doing? Like, what
Right.
are we collectively doing to make sure, like, all right, right, I believe we should be putting something together for these illegitimate drug dealers to become legitimate.
Right.
Right? What are we doing to turn all these folks in the neighborhood into legitimate, right? Instead of us continue to look at them as criminals, when all along, right now, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years later, turns out, well, they were just, ingenious businessmen who were ahead of their time.
Right. I mean, and then that's part of the conversation that pisses me off. You know what I'm saying? Because I know, like I known people who went to jail and sent their life down a different direction because of a small little weed charge or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I do my comedy thing, so I'm on Snapchat, and I got this white boy, with the blah blah blah, like hip hop, looking with pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds of weed on Snapchat trying to sell it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? Like what? Why? But you got countless, the like I said, the system of the drug laws were heavier, and according to our current president had a big hand in making that stuff happen, right?
Yeah, I think we should look at this and say, okay, at least not at least they're like this, like the weed stuff. They legalized it, but they didn't make it retroactive. So those guys on weed charges are still serving their time,
right?
But they're serving their time because it's a business in prison,
right?
I mean, they're slaves in prison. So we have to look at the system and say, okay, this is what they're doing. Where's my path around this? Or where's my path? Where's my path? We have to find a path within that. There's no answer. I mean, they can change the rules when they feel like it. And that's what they did with weed. They changed the rules.
Right.
They changed the rules, and as a slap in the face said, hey, we're not going to make these laws retroactive. You're going to finish serving your time, and that's it.
And that's the same thing. Yeah, it's like just like we're talking about reparations. You change the rules, but hey, it is what it is. Y'all catch up.
But we have to, if we don't find a path, if we don't, like, we know there's a path to the next step in life, or where we're talking about quality of life. Because like I grew up in a difficult situation, and then I left. The Air Force kind of saved me, and I left. But this weird thing happened. I left, and I started reading all these books about Solo on Ice and all these other books about all this knowledge. And then I went back home, and you know what? Nobody wanted to hear that. Nobody wanted to hear that. Even when I reach out to some of my friends that I grew up with, we like in two different places. What I'm talking about is not what they trying to hear, and our lives are in two different places. So it ain't even like a situation where we're the same people no more. Like, they ain't trying to hear for whatever reason, and I'm just not there no more where they're at. So how do we, I mean, and this is a question I don't even know if we have an answer to. How do we take a group? Because I'm the lame guy now.
Right.
Like, I'm the lame guy.
Right.
I went to school with, and I work
Right.
I work a job, and I work a corporate job, and I'm the lame guy.
Yeah.
So in society, I'm not. So how do we take our group and be like, hey, this situation is cool, or this being a business owner is cool, without saying, hey, I started a business, without like the what is that thing called, the Tulsa, man, what's that thing they started, that real estate program, the Tulsa real estate thing, where it's like, hey, invest in this and I'll give you $1 million, and then you get a check for $7 2 years later. It's, I don't know. I don't have the answer to any of this stuff. I don't even know what we can do. I kind of look back, I kind of look at the situation and say, like, there's no hope. Even on like the YouTube tip, when I be like Dr. Umar and Tariq and Michi X and all these people I listen to, and I listen to all of them to kind of get a little information or whatever, but then they're all fighting each other. And it just kind of lets the air out of my balloon. Like you guys all have a following, but you guys are purposely tearing each other down. And it makes me think, like the Malcolm X thing just came out, when they was like, oh, this is how he died. But it was somebody right next to him that looked just like him that got him in that position.
Right.
Just like the Fred Hampton thing. There was somebody right next to him that looked like us. So it's almost to a point where it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust your own people.
Right.
Not almost. It is. But yeah. I think there's a solution. I don't think it's easy. I think it's going to take. I think it's going to take a few people, right? Like us, right? Like us, good brothers, right? Making it more normal to support each other and work towards that.
Right.
You know, like all the cats that you just named to have a following, right? I think one of the things, right, as I said, I'm starting to fall in love with our history, is I really love looking deeper into MLK and Malcolm X's timelines, right? Because initially they were kind of opposed, right? They were kind of opposition, kind of like today with all the folks that you just named, to where Malcolm was pretty vocal about his disdain for the nonviolent movement, right? MLK wasn't vocal about it, but right, he wasn't fucking with X either, right? But as you look, right, the times when they started to be more effective and actually get stuff done was when they kind of started walking towards each other. You know what I'm saying? Like when X was a little less militant, right, and more collaborative, and MLK was starting to sound more like X. That's when they started being scared of him, for real, right? So, like, if those folks that you just named, right, with the following they had would be collaborative, right? It's okay to have different opinions and different perspectives, which I believe is the strength of a team in the first place, right? That right, who wants a bunch of people that think exactly the same way in the first place? So I mean, if we were able to find a few folks to start coming together and be collaborative and build, right, and build something that we can show, right? Unfortunately, we got to show it off a little bit. Like it's also cool to be a team of folks that ride together and build this thing and start showing positive change. But I mean, it's such an uphill battle. I don't like to agree with Stu all the time, but but he may have some merit in the fact that it may be something that we're unable to achieve if we don't take those steps.
But I think, okay, like just like you were saying right now, Stu, about how the situation that you grew up in and how you escaped it, and now you're the lame guy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I can relate to that, because like when I was in Fort Lauderdale for a year, I was attempting to move up here to Atlanta in August, but things just weren't popping and weren't kicking off for me the way I wanted them to. So I ended up having to go back home for a minute, and I'm loved, but I can tell the difference between me and the other males, black male around my community, you know. And when I think back to the root of why I turned out the way that I did, because I also understand that if life hadn't afforded me certain opportunities, then I'll probably be one of the worst of one of them. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, when I was 8 years old, I got on a plane from Mississippi and went to Hawaii and stayed for 3 years. Introduced to, you know, I was the only little black kid in my class, you know, around other cultures, other foods, other this, other that, you know, and those years are still kind of formative, you know, like from 8 to 13, like those are important years of where you picking up on. I got, you know, most of the males in my community, that's when they had their first drink of alcohol, they first hit of weed, they first this, they first that, you know what I'm saying? And the OGs teaching them what the OG feel like they're supposed to teach you, you know, to make it out here in these streets, you know. But I was taken out of that element and then brought back to it, you know what I'm saying? It's still kind of like, so I understand it and I get it, but fortunately I didn't, it wasn't ingrained in me like it was ingrained in them, you know. So I feel like in being able to change the dynamic and make things better for our people, you know, because I think about, like what I was saying, you know, when you go to Saudi Arabia, you're looking around like all the, you know, they have their customs, but it's like they all hanging out, having lunch, laughing, doing whatever, coming and going, helping each other in business. You know, it's just like it feels like everybody feels like they part of the family. So in our community, you know, as in coming together, you know, it's not, you know, don't look at me as the lame and I won't look at you as a thug. I just apply myself over here. You applied yourself over there. Let's put these two things together and educate our people. You know what I'm saying? I'm not wrong. You know, you made some mistakes. I made some mistakes too. You know what I'm saying? But we can take what is the positive that we can glean from all of this to bridge this gap, and unfortunately it's too late for some. You know, there might be some who are going down that, like I say, like 18, 21, 22. There might be a few of them that you can still save, but like, you know, maybe not. But if we start and just form that committee of just, it doesn't, if you for the people, if you for the community, I don't care, you know, what your background is, you know, as long as you on a positive move and positive vibe and for it, then we start educating those moldable minds, those minds who are still, you know, who are still able to be taught something, you know, and then it goes on from there, you know. Then we can really start to, then it becomes a norm. We created a norm for those young minds, for those young people, because they got this education early, you know, not that education that the ones who are already, you know, about to be in their mid-20s, you know, and think they know it all or whatever. Now it's, you know, they can get some on the backside, or maybe they'll kind of like, once they get done doing what they think is what they need to do, then maybe they'll come back and come around, you know. But starting to educate those, starting to have a real sense of community and taking care of each other, you know, like it was. I mean, because like, yeah, the 70s, 60s, 70s coming on, there was black love, black power, this and that. Everybody was proud to be black and proud to, it seemed like, you know. But then whatever, the crack epidemic and this and heroin and whatever that set in, you can blame it on, you know, it's that or it's not that, or whatever happened, we got away from it, you know. We got so far away from it. And now it seems like it's so hard to get back to that. It's like bits and pieces. And like you said, it's even hard to trust, even when somebody come to you with love and support and whatever. You know, half the time you watching them like, okay, when the other shoe gonna drop? What you really want? What you really trying?
I mean, we're gonna have to start with the babies.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have to start with the kids. Like if you 15 and up, we got. I mean, unless you're in that right mind state, we got to start with the babies, and we got to mimic some of these other cultures.
Yeah.
I think we have to
Yeah,
mimic
yeah.
the Asian culture, the Asian community. Like if you look at every community that comes here, they're a community. We're the only ones that are out just going to war with each other. We
Mm-hmm.
have to mimic these other because we already know we have spending power, and we're the economic base for a lot of these cultures. When you go to certain regions of the country, look at the gas station. Look who owns the gas station. Look who owns the hotels. Look who owns like the restaurants. It's almost never black people.
Right.
So we have to start mimicking that behavior. There is nothing for us to pool our money together and start some LLCs. Pool our money together. Like even us, we're vets. And you had said something earlier, Pete, about individuals from other races kind of showing you, like you can do this, you can do this. So I'm here in Texas. They're like, oh, you're a veteran. Oh, you can get this land deal out here. So now I'm looking at land, but my own didn't tell me that. They told me,
Right.
hey, it's this little trick you can do. I'm like, oh snap! They put me on the game, and rather than looking at them, I like took that game in. I'll listen to anybody
Exactly.
if they're giving me game, and we have to look at that. We have to buy land. We have to learn how to like this storm that just hit Texas. It scared me, not for me and my family, but it scared me how people were one day away from not having enough food.
Yep.
And for a long time, like you guys already know, I'm one of those generator gun packing water guys. Like I got water, got food. We could have been in there for a month. I would have been fine. We would have.
Right. I always say, like, if I'm ever in trouble, if it happens, I'm going to Stu's house. I already know.
But what scares me is like years ago, I was educating myself on how do I really become like self-sufficient if we got to unplug from the system for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. If I got to take care of myself, if I got to protect myself. And so many of us don't do that. So many of us don't focus on that. Like when I go to gun ranges, I do less shooting and more looking.
Yeah.
And I just watch people.
Right.
And I watch how they shoot.
Right.
And then I'll go to the same gun range over and over and over. You'll start seeing the same people.
But then at the same time, Stu, like I remember when before we got out, or around that time, I don't forget what had happened, but it ended up being like a short. When you go to gun shows, right? You go to a couple gun shows. Who do you see?
Yep. Like I don't buy guns for me. I don't buy guns because like I'm a big dude, man. People ain't walking up to me trying to lock up with me.
Right.
But I watch what's going on in this world, and I want to at least balance it out. So if anything happens, and it does come on to that point, I'm want to make that other person earn it.
Yeah.
So but we got to do that as a culture. We can't just be victim no more. Like if we gonna be victimized, you got to make the other person earn it, and that even means like our neighborhoods and stuff. This is why can't we? Like my mother-in-law just moved, and she just moved from Compton. Sold a house. I'm not gonna say how much the house was bought, and I'm not gonna say how much it was sold for. But it was crazy. But it wasn't a blackface coming in buying those neighborhoods up. And that's why I think they let crime happen. That's why you bring the property value down, and then you come in and you scoop it up, and then it goes back up. Right. Like it's a plan that we've seen happen over and over. And we know it, and we let it happen.
It's funny you say that. I say this all the time to my siblings and people, right? One of the things I hate most about, right, the reason why gentrification is able to happen is because we don't see value in our own neighborhoods, right? We don't decide there's value or it's worth investing in it until some white people or some different culture come in and starts feeling the same way. All right? When we feel like it's worth investing in us, that's when the things will change. That's when we'll be able to come together, right? That's when we'll be able to prove Stu wrong and actually make it.
I want, but y'all remember in the flight chief office, me just holding court and just blurting and yelling and come on, y'all, let's go get our guns, let's rise up.
Yeah.
And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, you know what? I guess I'm the only one out here. Let me go get a corporate.
But and that's
and move into
I don't know what it is.
That's what I did.
I don't know, and it's not like it's not like black people don't have guns, because okay, you got them, but it's still, I don't know, it's like a different mindset. I was one of the experiences that I had when I was home. I went over to this. I was hanging out with a friend. She took me over to a coworker's house, a white guy, country white guy. Go in, it's like deer all on the wall or whatever. He shot this one, boom, 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 bam. Him and his son. You know what I'm saying? And his son wanted to. He was teaching his son, like his son wanted to go put out some corn or something, to track the deer, looking at deer tracks, walking through nature. Like all these little things that, like this father and son bond and teaching. Like I said, if something were to happen, this little boy probably gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? To where I was like, I wish, it's not like black dads. It's not like they don't do that, but I feel like the focus, is the importance of certain things is placed differently, instead of survival mode, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, like this past year has taught people a lot of things, but unfortunately it's like, have you grasped on to the fact of survival mode? Like if all this shit is taken away from you, how are you going to survive? How are you going to make it? Being prepared, knowing how to, okay, the temperature is going to drop at this certain time. I need to have this, and this, so I don't freeze to death. I need to have this water or whatever. Where can I get water from if I get a shortage? And all of that, all of those types of things, to where it's like, like I just want, I want my people to be prepared. I want them to be, focused on the right things. To have at least some type of knowledge about, like a full circle knowledge about all of that, because it's important,
Like I think we act and we know like we're behind. I don't want to say behind enemy lines, but we're in an urgent situation, but we don't behave like it.
Right.
So we know it. We'll talk about it. And we'll say, "Hey, man, this." I'm saying like us as a race and a culture, we'll say, "Man, that's not right. That's not right. They're treating us like this. They're treating us like this. Like it feels like they're at war with us.
Right.
We don't behave like it. We
Right.
don't prepare ourselves for what if they're at war with us and we don't know. Like we're standing in line to get some Jordans.
Right.
We're standing in line to get bullets.
Yeah.
Because if the system does crumble.
Right.
Because if you think about it, you think about all these stimulus packages. And you think about our dollar and how our dollar works. Our dollar is the petrodollar. That means we got to be out in the desert shooting somebody for it to really mean anything.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, there's a chance that this thing might not be what it is in 5 years, 10 years, 3 years.
It's not what it is today, really.
So if we don't get ourselves together, I think reparations is going to be the last of our worries.
Yeah, and you make a good point. Like we don't operate with a sense of urgency, right? And not even the sense of urgency. I think so. Let me, I've been trying not to pull the stews and say these, controversial statements, right? But like the Black Lives Matter type of movement, right? They concern me, right? They concern me because the nature of the movement, right? So police reform, right? Racial inequality. How can you expect to ask the person or the group of people that have created this system, right? That have done you wrong to fix or have the capacity to fix their wrongs? Right, the people who created a system of this prison system, this racial inequality, these police issues they perpetuated, right? They benefit from it, they profit from it, right? Marching and asking them to change it doesn't make sense to me. Because when even when they change it, right? Even when they change it, are they going to change it to our benefit? No, right? They're going to change it to where it looks like they're helping us, and in the long run, hurting us, right? We have to get down into the weeds and figure out how to change it, right? Look at the makeup of Congress, right? Even with the young, right, the AOCs and right, the Cory Bookers and right, Congress and the Senate are still made up of baby boomers, right? Baby boomers still run our judicial and legislative branch, right? And our executive branch. All three branches, right, are ran by people who grew up thinking that this way of life was okay.
And a
Right?
lot of
Even if
times,
they're willing to change, they don't have the capacity to.
right. And if this is another point, I don't know if I said this in our last session, but as far as politicians go, you know what I'm saying? Especially today's politics, like early politicians, you know, our first few presidents and whatever, they were farmers turned, you know, who got voted in the presidency or whatever. They came from having normal lives and real jobs to being in politics. But most of the politicians these days don't come from that. They groomed themselves. They started out really, really early going in the way of politics. So they're blind to a lot of real life shit to me. You know what I'm saying? Like they just know politics. They know how to politic, but they don't know how to live. They don't know what is really, you know, they get blurbs and briefings and papers to read about, oh, this you're going to talk to Shaquita down here in the neighborhood today, and she's a mother of 3 and blah blah blah. And they read that, and then they know how to throw out little blurbs, but they don't really know this girl or care nothing about her or really know her life or haven't really, you know, been around nobody like her before. You know, it's like, so they're blinded. The politicians and all of them are blinded to what they know, policy, and they know all of this other stuff is going on, but they don't really get in and understand the real pulse of America. And that's a lot of shit. That's why a lot of things are being so divided and you know, or everybody's not being understood because everybody's getting away from really understanding and being able to bridge that gap to know what the people really need.
I think we got to look at the politics and politicians just like a business.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we want something done, to be honest with you, I think if we want something done, we have to pool our money together and buy our local politician. The same way Walmart stayed open, but small businesses closed during Corona. You don't think there was something slid under the table that said we need to keep our businesses open? That's
Right.
how it runs. Like it is legal. They made it legal to lobby or pay off your politician. If we want anything done, asking and marching and saying and crying out is not going to help. We need to pool our money together, just like we pool at the local church and give him tithes. We need to pay tithes to that politician to get any legislation passed that's going to benefit us. That's how we have to look at it. If I'm a politician and this is a business, because they go in, you know, politicians go in at 32 with, you know, $50,000 of college debt. In 10 years, they come out and they got $100 million in the bank. It's like,
Right.
where'd that money come from?
Right.
Like, how'd you get that money? So if we need to look at it like that, we don't need to look at it like this organization or these politicians are going to help us because they care. They're in it for the business too. So if we pool our money together and lobby our local politician, whatever we're asking for will get passed, I think. But we don't lobby. We ask while other groups lobby. And then they get what they want. Like they get like just like certain parts of the city get certain things that other parts of the city don't get. Because that other part of the city brings in more taxes, more tax revenue, so they get more benefits, that they get a better quality of life. I think that is how we navigate this politician thing. And the Black Lives Matter thing, that's COINTELPRO in front of our face. Ask yourself, what legislation law enforcement or prison legislation that has gotten passed that has benefited Black people at all. Nothing. And you know what? We don't even talk about it no more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they got millions of millions. Look at what they stand for. When you look at our families and all of us, our great-great-grandfathers, if they were bad men or good men or not, we had them there. They were in a home. We had a nuclear family in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
which is why we were the way we are. We survived those years. When you look at Black Lives Matter, what is the one thing they want to tear down? The nuclear family. And they told us in our face. But they give it. I mean, it's a nice tagline because if you speak against it, then you're bad.
Right.
They're playing the game right in front of our faces, and we just let it happen. And because we have such a large groupthink, and we don't want to like look bad to each other, we'll say, "All right, we support it." When in actuality, they're tearing this whole thing down. What we do have, they're tearing it down. That's like Puffy starting a political party right before the election. And it's like, where's the Black Party at? And it's like, I don't know.
The 40/40 Club, that's where it's at.
I don't know. I always look, and this is just something crazy I do. I always look and be like, man, we kind of got a structure with the church. The church can act as the bank. The drug dealer the drug dealer can take his money and run it through the church, which is a 501c3. They don't have to really report all their income. And there's a way that we can set this neighborhood up where it functions legally, even if it's not legal. And the church can buy off Granny's home. And then that home belongs to the church, but it belongs to the neighborhood that church is in. There's strategies and ways I think we can navigate this thing.
Yeah.
But we don't. We
don't,
just
but that's the miseducation of, you try going into a Black church and telling them to work with a drug dealer. There might be some that might be willing to do it, but I mean, how many are really going to be willing to do it?
I mean, that's just an example, though, right? He gave an extreme example, right? And I don't, you know what I mean? We'd have to have a separate conversation about church and religion, for sure, right? Because I am a PK and I am a God-fearing man, right? But I also understand and I kind of have some qualms with the church and how we operate, especially from a leadership standpoint, right? Because everything I know about leadership, at least the foundation of it, comes from the Bible, right? And when you start to really dig in and you dig deep, you start to recognize and realize how much, right, the church has misused or their position, right? But that's a different conversation, right? I wanted to go back to like the strategy of right. Stu, you was talking about the lobbying and getting into the system or learn how the system and right instead of asking. One of the things I think is critical is that we have people that learn the game, right, master the game, play the game, but not to perpetuate it, to change it, right? We get people who get in the system and they get so lost, right? So like if we get in, let's say I get into politics, right? And today I know that politics is dirty, right? Politics is dirty, it's wrong, right? But I get in there, I'm like, I gotta get in there and learn it and play the game to benefit my people, right? After a while, when I get in there, right, the goal should be to eventually establish my position to where I can make changes, right? Or at least bring enough people in to where we can make changes. But what more than often happens is that, right, those folks get in there with that mindset initially, but they get lost in the game, right? They're like, oh, this is the way of life, right? Like we can go down the list, like there isn't much that we do as a people, as a country, as an economic system that makes sense, right? The bank, right? The business model of a bank is using other people's money, right? Literally, all you do is use other people's money. How does it make sense for the CEO and the C-suites to make as much money as they do in these banks when all they're doing is using other people's money? And half the people money they're using can't get a loan.
Right.
Like,
It's
None
the
of this
system.
stuff makes sense.
I mean, it
Right?
makes sense if you're up there.
Right.
If,
Yeah.
if you're up
If
there,
it's benefiting you, it makes sense.
I also think we have to look at what value do we offer. Like if you're in a workspace, you have to offer value for them to value you. So, like I was saying about the tax revenue, the reason I say the tax revenue is I was able to move into a different place where it's okay. I was able to move to a suburb. We didn't lose power during this snowstorm. Like we could go to the gas station and fill up with gas. It was a different world than another place. So it's what value. So what I was using a church as an example, but I was like, what if we can build our communities up to be of some value to the overall system? Because you can't beat the system. You can't go around the system. You can't. We're all kind of slaves to the system. There's always something they can hold over our head. We're like, all right, I'll do whatever you want me to do. But what value do we hold to the system? We can't buck the system. You can't go around the system. You can't revolutionize. You become a revolutionary, they cut your water off 2 days later. You're like, all right, I'll do whatever you want.
Right.
So how do we add value to our neighborhoods where
That's one thing when we talk about a gentrification thing. Like why hasn't there been a black real estate people? There's plenty of black people doing real estate. Why aren't we gentrifying our own neighborhoods? You know what I'm saying? Not in that aspect, but just go in, make it better, do whatever. But not in that sense of them doing it. You know what I'm saying? We making our own places better.
Because it's bigger.
Ourselves.
Because it's bigger than just a real estate developer. I do believe we can revolutionize the system, but it's just hard. But it's deeper. It's because the reason why we don't reverse the gentrification process is because, like I said, we're not investing. When a community is gentrified, it is not just a real estate developer that goes in there. Right. It's a bunch of economic power that moves in, right, and changes the trajectory of this neighborhood, right? Baltimore, for example, I want to say it's Under Armour, right? Under Armour is putting like hundreds of $1 million into moving, setting up shop in Baltimore, right? And these other companies are coming in, but Under Armour is the big one, right? And that in itself is changing the trajectory of that neighborhood. And it's changing. It's being gentrified as we speak.
Right.
As we speak.
That's a mentality of, like, okay, and maybe they're doing it, maybe they're not. You know what I'm saying? But okay, so we take Puff and Jay-Z, for example. You know what I'm saying? We got a clothing line, start a liquor line, start a this, on the ball team. Like that. Those are kind of cookie cutter things for a black millionaire, black billionaire, anybody besides Oprah to do, you know what I'm saying? Or Tyler, they ain't really doing those things. But okay, instead of if Under Armour can do something like that, then Def Jam or whoever, whatever, I think Young Jeezy owns a lot of real estate here in Atlanta. Okay, you buying it, you own it, but how, start that narrative. Start putting that out there and then perpetuating that mentality, and then the changes, and then you can start to do those types of things, right?
It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword because you can't do it by yourself. It's gonna take several different enterprises to come together to do that, right? And even in the real estate game, right? Us black real estate developers, right? When we go into these black neighborhoods, how are we transforming or investing in these places to rent to other black people, right? Are we saying that, it's not worth fixing it up because I'm only gonna get this type of renter, right? And then when I do fix it up, is the renter gonna take care of the stuff, right? It's a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Because when you go into a black neighborhood, even when the black owners own the rental properties, they're not really, we slumlords. You know what I'm saying? We're not going in there like, we're going to deck this out for you. We're going to make sure you have a dope place to stay. And then on the other hand, right, the tenants ain't coming in like, oh man, you hooking us up with this beautiful place. We're gonna make sure we take care of it. It's a double-edged sword.
Right. But I mean, if people were provided or understood or having a little bit better facilities became a norm, because we are, it's just human nature a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? Like us coming from the cop career field, new sedans hit the yard. You got these old ones with the air conditioner vents blown out, look like somebody been biting chunks out of the steering wheel. The seat is ripped, it's dirty, it's roaches in the car, whatever. You get these new sedans, and it's kind of like, only police one can drive it, only this one, only trusted personnel can drive it in the beginning. And if the first little scratch or ding that it gets is like, oh my God, you about to get Article 15 for messing up this brand new vehicle, But initially, everybody was going to try to bait. They're treating it a little bit better. They want to treat it better. You want to treat it right. But the way as much as we dog, it's a security forces vehicle. We drive these bitches 24/7, 3, 4, 5 different drivers during the day. It's gonna happen. It's gonna get beat up. It's gonna get scratched. It's gonna have these things that happen. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting in here with a 9 mil and a 16, and it's gonna happen because it's just a regular car, but it's taking more wear and tear than it's really intended to do. But as a norm, if we started to have better facilities for certain people, and like, and it comes full circle. It comes with having better places to live, educating and being more community, centric and knowledge, spreading our knowledge and coming together as people and understanding, like, to care a little bit more about it, because, and having people to, I think some accountability has to come in somewhere into play. You don't want to knock people over the head with rent, but they have to be, people gonna care about something that they had to work for, had to pay a little bit more for, or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? And that's just why, you live in the suburbs, but you paying suburban prices and HOAs and all this and all that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna take care of my shit. I'm gonna have to keep it up because I'm out of that money. So, unfortunately, Section 8, when you paying $8 a month for rent, and you got, you don't care. You don't care as much. You don't care much as a hole in the wall. They gonna fix it. They're not gonna fix it, whatever. But if the people were educated on more of having more of an investment in themselves, in their own community, and then learning how to invest in their community instead of Jordans and all the things that don't care. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing that has always annoyed me about Black people or people that I know, is like every year when income tax comes around, even at the job that I got now, it's kind of like people get a stimulus check and then quit their job or get their income tax. Can't wait to get my income. Like they got plans to what they're gonna spend all these outfits and clothes, and income tax money is gone before they even spend it. They're going, you know what I'm saying, like going to get it a rapid return so you can spend the money faster. Like, come on now. Like, you should just treat that check, treat all of those like you never even needed them. That's the point that you should be at in your life, to where you're not just counting those monies and spending those dollars before you even get them on something that has no appreciation in value, And that's what, like, unfortunately, that's where we lack in understanding ownership, because we buy a lot of shit, even though we're the highest consumers. A lot of the shit that we buy has no appreciation. It all depreciates. It has, after you buy it, it's just done.
Yeah.
So it comes that whole full gamut of education and teaching a better way and understanding, you know, because there is a lack of people on at a certain level, at a certain status, in a certain environment, just don't, you know, they just see that as their way of life and just the way it is. And they don't see past that. And that's one of the things like schools talk about, being taken out of that environment and being shown another level. It's just like right on the other side. It's like, dude, it's you like 2 steps away from understanding that it's better, but those 2 steps or those last 2 steps are so hard for you to understand. It's so hard for you to get. You see where you want to go. You have the drive, you have the ambition, you know you want to do better, but taking those 2 last steps, you know, taking those last 2 steps to get there is the hardest thing for you. And I'm just standing on this. I'm standing right here, giving you the knowledge, just hitting you upside the head, boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? But you still don't get it. It's still kind of like whatever that is won't let you get it. And that's the frustration of people like us. Like, what do you know? Do we just fucking cut the rope and leave them behind?
Well, that's a frustration because with the knowledge, I have to tell them, I didn't really have a good year financially until 40.
Right.
I'm 41. So the last 2 years, I've had good financial years. All the military years was survival.
Right.
But I had to go through that to get to a place in life where I was like, all right, this is what I need. I need to get school. I need to get this. I need to get this. I need to keep myself together so I can get something after this thing is over. I can get a decent job. I can get this. And then some people just don't want a job. Some people don't like. That's the thing. What is working for me right now might not work for that person. Because I have the tolerance to kind of put up with the bullshit. Because some days are bullshit.
Yeah.
So I have the time to put up. Some people are not going to spend the rest of their days putting up with the bullshit. They rather put up with whatever bullshit they're going to put themselves through, which I think is, I actually think that's more admirable than just being an employee.
Right. But also, like I tell my cousin, I think my cousin is one of those people, but I tell him, okay, it's okay to not want a job, but you don't have to have a job to work.
So I have an issue with where we are. I have an issue with where we are in this conversation, like around that we put out. I think it's admirable to be an entrepreneur. It's admirable to be a business owner, but I feel like we need to stop shitting on people who just want to have a job. It's okay. It's okay to have a job and a career, right? But like we've pushed this perception that, oh, you ain't shit unless you're a business owner or entrepreneur, right? When it's admirable to maintain a job and a career, right? And unfortunately, that's the other thing I don't like is this whole system to where now, you know, people I've heard people throw this term out, oh, you gotta have 7 streams of income to be successful. It's stupid, man. Like who the fuck is getting 7 streams of income, man? Like everybody can't do that, man. Like it doesn't make any sense for you to think that every single person in the United States needs to have 7 streams of income in order to be successful. It's dumb.
Right.
Like what we need is people, right? We need people, right? We need leaders, right? We need leaders, right? We need leaders those who are successful in their businesses and entrepreneurs, right? Don't need them to not forget the people that work for them, that allow them to be successful and actually take care of them, right? Well, those multi-million-dollar companies and business owners who their workers are barely making ends meet. That don't make sense to me. Right. That doesn't make sense to me. And I don't think it's fair or right to tell them now, oh, you should go be an entrepreneur. Like, nah, you should respect the people that get you to where you are. Right. Granted, nobody's expecting to make as much as the business owner. Nobody expects that. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody questions how much, right? Oh, I wish I made as much as the CEO. They get it. Like, just take care of people. Like, half these motherfuckers don't even care. Right? They just want to make it. They just want to be able to go to work and make enough to provide their family so they can actually spend time with their family. Like that'd be nice. I don't think that's a high bar to set.
Right. That's what I mean. But even coming up as, young, not knowing much, a millionaire, to me, a millionaire was just a millionaire. They didn't go to work. They just chilled, had maids, chilled in their house. That's a making it. That's success right there. Do what you want to do. But, once I got out and I was working in Calabasas, working in the neighborhood with the millionaires and the famous people or whatever, there were still millionaires going to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that, like, just because you're a millionaire don't mean you're not going to work. And some of them still came home with that same frustrated, I'm tired of this shit look on their face every day. And for me, it's kind of like you in this community, you got this big house, you got birds chirping, you see flowers and water fountains and little bunnies hopping on your way home. The deer just walk up and eat out of your hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, go drive down on Skid Row, go drive through Compton and see, you calling me because your neighbor's sprinklers are too loud, because your neighbor's dog is barking. Okay, well, let me stay in your house tonight and you go live in my apartment, and you can see how it seems like I got a dance studio above me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you complaining about all this stuff, but the fact of the matter is, and no matter what level of success that you feel like it is, or what you dream, you know what I'm saying? Like, we only have aspirations to go to another place, to achieve. And a lot of people's mentality is to the point of, when I get to that next level, I won't have these problems, or I won't have these thoughts, I won't have these concerns. But that's not necessarily true. When you get to that next level, you still have some of the same problems, the same concerns on a different level. They come from a different direction, or, it's just different, but you just making more money, doing more things, more responsibility or whatever. Your problems come differently. Your concerns come differently than anything else. Okay, so you paying this millions of dollars for this house and you expect quiet, but it's just not going to be that way. Your problems are minor compared to the person in a different neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't lose it. Kind of like, you can't lose sight on what's important and what's not, regardless of your level of success. You can't lose it and sight on what's important and what's not. And you have to remain real. There's nothing wrong with having a job and being an employee and working. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's not what we want to say, or put out there. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to own your own business and be an entrepreneur, and there are going to be some people who combine the two. But whatever walk or facet, whatever path you choose to take, you got to put your all into it. You have to understand that. You have to know that that's the path you've chosen. That's what you're going to do, and don't settle for less. Don't plateau and just be stagnant. Always try to improve, try to do better, and it will be nice if you could try to help, and then when I say help the next man, it doesn't necessarily mean financially. It doesn't necessarily mean going out of doing something extravagant, but just sharing knowledge. It's as simple as conversations like this. And E, I know you said you had about an hour. We're going on like an hour and a half or so right now. So we're gonna try to wrap it up and close out. Thanks to everybody for joining in the conversation. Keith Adams, Chris Cook, Snoop P and Peanut, everybody that gave in the conversation, Salty Sam, everybody that contributed comments and parts of the conversation, and I'm glad that we wanted to do this. E hit me up saying, hey, before Black History Month closes, we need to have another conversation. So we're gonna have to, this is just the other day, the 23rd was the anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery's death and shooting in Georgia. And like you said, like there wasn't even really much said about that or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I don't really know what developments or changes have come. I'm sure there's conversation out there that have been had, but I haven't, I've been busy. I haven't really, been part of it. But, like I said, like as far as the Black history, Black present, but as far as the Black future goes, I do hope that we can make some changes, make some real changes, and turn some of these things around. Regardless of what your he said. Your heritage is Haitian. Mine is Jamaican, African, whatever. I mean, I'm not even sure, but we all here, we all together, we all Black men trying to make a difference in our culture, in our community.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts coming from UE?
I think our future. I think we have potential. I think time. I think now is the time. I think we've reached a point in society that the political climate, the racial climate, right, to where now is the time to make, at least lay the foundation. Right. I don't believe it's impossible, as Stu thinks, but I do understand why he says it's impossible, because it's hard work.
Yeah,
right? It's hard work, right? You can barely get people to work for what they see as tangible, right? So trying to get them to work and make sacrifices for something that we don't know is gonna come into fruition is tough. But I think there's enough of us. We just got to figure out how to get us together. Yeah.
Finally, we good at talking about coming together, but we actually got to start coming together. For real.
I mean, I think one good thing about Black folks is we're survivors. Like we've made it this long. We're gonna make it. We'll be here for a long time. I don't think we're going anywhere. I hope that we have to be as optimistic as possible. And I would always say, I live by it, stay as dangerous as possible. Because again, nobody's coming to hug us or say they're sorry for whatever happened in the past. So
right. I mean, and then closing the conversation, the biggest part of it is, out of all of this, I just want people to understand that regardless of who is the president, the vice president, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? The power is in the people. Don't ever forget that. It's the power is in the people. Regardless of what's going on, if we come together and pull together and stand for things of substance, things that mean something, you know what I'm saying? What's right? There's nothing more powerful than that. So it don't matter who the president is. It don't matter who the vice president is. None of that really matters, at the end of the day. That's how I feel about it. Hopefully we'll be able to get to that point. I appreciate you, Stu. Appreciate you, E, for joining in. You can, hit E up on his misfitleadership.com website. He's got plenty of information. A good man, good leader. Like I said, Stu stays under the radar. Don't go trying to
get back in my bunker,
look him up or whatever. If he want to be found, he'll tell you where to find him. But good conversation. Like I said, we're gonna try to do this on a regular basis. We're gonna try to do this as often as we can. Even if it's not, we working on that. So yeah.
Appreciate you, sir.
I appreciate y'all, man.
All right, y'all.
All right, fellas.
Later.